Welcome to the Zion in Mind podcast. We're your hosts,
Bonnie
and Leland Colford, and we're so excited to have a guest today. She is the founder and owner of Sunflower Drive. She had problems early on finding clothing that was both modest, beautiful, and affordable. So she started Sunflower Drive. The mission that she has is to help women feel beautiful without compromising their standards. We'd like to welcome to the podcast, Katie Vanderhoff. Welcome.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. We enjoyed talking with you a little bit this morning. What inspired you? What was the first things that happened in your life to inspire you to do this?
So I'm from Minneapolis, Kansas, and that is a tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, as 1,900 people, and my dad is a farmer there. We lived past Minneapolis, actually, in the country, and my neighbors were cows. It was just, there was nobody there. And he farms wheat, he does Milo, soybeans, corn, the whole deal. And because I was in Kansas, it was really hard for me to find clothing that was modest. A lot of the times, the things that I could find there were either see-through or they were tank tops, and it was just difficult for me to find something that I felt comfortable wearing that covered my body but was also beautiful. Yeah, so that's how I decided to start this.
Yes, and before we started this podcast this morning, you were telling us that you actually had to drive quite a distance to be able to go to a store. So the closest mall, so to speak, was like 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
Was that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it only had a couple stores in it, right?
Yeah. So Minneapolis doesn't have any like clothing stores at all. So we would go to Salina, which was about 45 minutes away from where my house was. And you're right, like there was only a couple clothing stores even in the mall. Most of them were shoes or other things. And to go to a bigger mall, we had to go to either Wichita or Topeka, which were 2 or 3 hours away. And even then, they didn't even have options that would work. To buy clothing that I felt comfortable in, I had to go to the women's section as a teenager. And that was frustrating to me because I couldn't find anything that I felt like was my style and was fitting for my age because I had to go to like the ladies section.
Right. And you don't want to wear the old lady stuff,
No,
right?
I didn't.
That must have been really disappointing for you because going on a date with mom and the anticipation of just getting something new and going to the store and making it a day and then coming home empty-handed.
Yes.
Isn't that just deflating?
Yeah.
Right?
Did you actually come home empty-handed sometimes?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my.
And you know what? I actually have memories of me just sitting down crying in stores too because it was so frustrating. I know. And my mom was always like, I know, like this is hard for me too. I understand where you're coming from. But I remember one time we actually went to Kansas City, which was a good 3.5 hours away from where I lived. And that's like a big mall. And my dad had come with us too because it was a family day trip. So it was me, my dad, and my mom. And we went shopping. And I remember hearing my dad and my mom outside of my dressing room as I was getting dressed and trying things on. They were saying, do you think that she's going to find something this time? Like, do you think we're going to have any success at all? And then I came out and they were just so bummed that nothing had worked again. And I just remember just sitting in the car, just so sad because I couldn't find anything that would work.
Yeah. And then you get discouraged. It's a discouraging time to go shopping instead of an elation to go shopping,
like,
right?
Why even bother?
Yeah.
Why try?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were telling of an experience as a story when you were in school in 6th grade, and you had an experience with clothing as well. And tell us about that story. What happened?
So I was in 6th grade, right? So I was 12 years old or so. And in gym class, they're kind of like exercise balls, but they were shaped like a donut. So there was a hole in the middle. And before we had started, I remember we were all just sitting on our little donuts, just bouncing around, having fun.
Okay.
And as I was bouncing, I remember I was wearing my brand new brown corduroy pants that day and a seafoam green polo. And I felt really good about what I was wearing. And I remember as I was bouncing, I thought to myself, wait a second. I feel a breeze that I've never felt a breeze before. Yeah. And I had ripped my pants from the seam all the way down to like my mid-thigh. It was like a pretty good sized rip.
So you're talking like about a foot
Yeah.
A whole foot of the seam coming out in your pants.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And the teacher, Mrs. Lomberger, I had to call her over and I said, I think I ripped my pants. And she didn't believe me at first. She's like, really? Like, you're trying to get out of gym class. I think that's what she thought. She's like, you just don't want to exercise today. And I was like, no, like, I actually like ripped my pants, but I don't want to stand up because I don't want all of the like kids to see.
Right.
And
right.
so she's like, okay, I'll stand behind you. And so I stood up and she was like, oh my gosh, you did rip your pants. So I remember I pulled down my polo like underneath and she had to walk behind me and she walked me out to the nurse's room. But because I was so thin, the nurse didn't have any extra clothes that would fit me at all. And so she had put me in this really big pair of pants that she had, just extra pants that she had in her office. And since they didn't fit, she had to duct tape them onto my body.
Duct tape.
Yep. So I'm standing there in the nurse's office, just totally mortified that this is even happening. And she's just wrapping this like brown duct tape around my waist. Yep. And then I had to walk back into gym and everybody was like, what are you wearing? Like, what's going on?
Oh, dear.
Are those duct taped onto your body? So that was frustrating too because these were brand new pants I had just gotten and they had already ripped on the first time.
Yeah.
I'd been to school for 3 or 4 hours at this point and they had already ripped out.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So this sounds like this has affected two things in your life. One, quality, and two, style. So duct tape is not your style?
no, that's not my style.
Okay.
We can safely say that the trend did not take off, right?
No, it didn't.
Okay. So that's affected how you look for clothing for yourself and now for others.
Yes, definitely. I do not want that to happen again. So
Right, right. You know, did you ever had the feeling when you went to the stores that, you know, I see people who make exceptions to the rule. So if they can't find something that they like in the store, they make an exception and say, oh, this will be okay this time. I'll wear this time, even though it doesn't meet my standards.
Yeah.
Did you ever have those ideas going through your head?
Oh, definitely. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
Of course I did.
yeah.
A lot of the time, though, I ended up wearing a bunch of layers. So if I found a shirt that did have sleeves and I thought it was cute, it was normally sheer. So I would just throw like a cami underneath it or have like a little, I don't know, just a shirt underneath to make it modest. And that was frustrating too, though, because it gets hot in Kansas. It gets up to be over 100 degrees and it's humid. It's very humid. And so to have to wear like sometimes 2 or 3 layers of clothing, that wasn't fun either. I just wanted something that I could throw on and feel good about.
Right, right. So doing the extra layers, you suffered through that as an individual, sweating and perspiring. And I'm finding that myself, you know, trying to find clothing that you can have that's modest, but yet you don't have to have the multiple layers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even putting a jacket over or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. You always have to add something.
Yeah, to it. Well, we're so excited to be able to talk to you a little bit more about your adventures and how you got your business started. But the next phase of your life is your mission.
Yeah.
You went on a mission and you have some stories about that, about trying to find clothing for your mission. Is that right?
Yep.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well.
Right. So this is Leland and Bonnie Coford from UpStep Development with our great guest, Katie Vanderhoff. We'll be right back.
Sunflower Drive has an affordable solution to wearing comfortable clothes without compromising any of your values. They do the searching for you to find modest clothing that is both trendy and beautiful. Whether you're looking for dresses to wear to your church or to find everyday casual apparel, Sunflower Drive is dedicated to helping you feel comfortable and modest in the fashion of your choosing. Visit their website today at sunflower-drive.com or check them out on Instagram, Facebook, or Pinterest at Shop Sunflower Drive.
Welcome back to the podcast today, and we are talking with Katie Vanderhoff, who's the owner of Sunflower Drive, and she has a wonderful line of clothing that is modest clothing to make the woman feel beautiful, modest, and they're affordable clothing. And so we're so excited to have you here with us today. And we were talking about your adventures on finding clothing to go on your mission.
Yes.
And you were having a difficult time. So you were telling us in the episode just before that you had the trouble of going long distances to stores to find modest clothing. How did that work out, trying to find clothing to go on a mission?
So I want to share the standards first because some people don't know like what the requirements are for missionaries. So I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they require that you have dresses that have sleeves and that go past your knee. So it needs to go underneath your kneecap. And of course, it can't be too tight or sheer or low cut, everything like that. And yes, you're right. Like I definitely couldn't find anything in Kansas, and I tried. And I decided that I needed to probably order some clothes from online from other states. And here in Utah, they have a lot of boutiques that have more modest options than they do in Kansas. And so I thought that if I ordered from here, that I'd be able to find something that would work. So I ordered from several different sites, and I remember even when I got those in the mail, and they said that they would work for the mission, they weren't modest either. And I remember specifically there's this one dress, and it had a slit all the way up to my like mid thigh. And they had even told me like this will work for your mission, and that wasn't gonna work, right? So
right.
Yeah. And then I couldn't even return it. It's just frustrating that even when I ordered from places that said that they were modest, they still didn't work out.
Yeah. So you were still having difficulty trying to find clothing to be able to use on your mission. So you what did you do?
So I wore a lot of skirt extender slips. So I bought so I had dresses, and they would maybe be above the knee or right at my kneecap. So I'd wear a slip underneath that had like a little line of lace that would make it a little longer. But again, we're back to layers, and it was hot in Alabama. It's like 100 degrees every day and super humid. So that was really hot. And then also I would wear shawls over dresses. I had some that were like jumpers that I would wear shirts underneath, things like that. But I also bought a lot of dresses from Goodwill.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Again, from the ladies section.
Yes. With the big, large print flowers and
love those.
and the boxed shoulders. They were probably old styles. Remember the boxed shoulders that had the paddings, and the shoulders. And so did you have to work on the clothing once you found it? Did you have to sew it up or?
I didn't do any of that. I decided that I would rather just add things to it than have to like sew it actually. So that wasn't a problem. And I did find some dresses that were modest and that were cute, but then they were very expensive too. So it was like $80 to $100 for a dress. And and on the mission, we rode bikes all the time. And I knew that I was going to be wearing these dresses and getting bike grease on them and sweating in them all day. Right. So I didn't want to spend that much money on a dress that was going to get ruined within the first couple of weeks of wearing it.
Wow. I can't even imagine wearing layers of clothing, exercising on top of it, riding these bikes.
Riding a bike and dress is not easy.
Right. Yeah.
And at the same time, you're supposed to be representing your church. And so you don't want to look frumpy.
Exactly. I wanted to look nice.
Yes.
Well, and too, women like to look nice because then they feel beautiful.
Exactly.
The clothing that they wear makes them feel beautiful. But I'm finding a trend with women. And maybe you've seen this, and maybe people have approached you about this with the clothing that they are wearing because you're in this line, right? This business. But I'm finding even women who are beautiful on the outside, just like yourself, you just sparkle, you just shine, right? But they sparkle and they shine and they're just beautiful on the outside, but yet they are wearing clothing that is distracting, that is not modest. And I think it's from the inside that they're missing the inside, that they're trying to formulate their personality. Yeah. They're trying to form who they are by what they wear. And so Leland and I have found this a lot with the people that we work with in our business because we mentor people, right? And so in the mentoring that we see is that women are trying to prove themselves through being immodest because that's how they feel that the world has gone this direction. Now, have you seen this?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of women feel like in order to be beautiful, they have to wear those things that are revealing. And for me, I think it should be the other way around. I feel if you know that what your self-worth is and you know that you're a daughter of God, then you would want to wear clothing that represents that, right? And I feel like that's a big struggle that a lot of women face. And because a lot of people wear those immodest clothes, that's why that's the only thing we can find in stores. So I would really like if we could shift that to be that the majority of the clothes that you find are modest, because that's what's truly beautiful.
It's so true. And we've got a man here. So as a man's perspective, what as a man's perspective, would you rather see a woman immodestly dressed or modestly dressed?
Well, modestly dressed is by far more important for me. And it's really weird to me. I walk down the mall or out in public, and I see a couple together, and she's not dressed modestly. And I'm thinking to myself, why is he, wanting her to dress like that in his presence when it's his girlfriend or his wife? And why would he want that? And do you have any idea why a man would want that? Maybe it's because that's what their girlfriends want to wear?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's just such a trend that if you're not wearing the in thing, right, that they're not in style. I feel like they are more into finding that they need to wear these things that are in modest because that's what's in trend. Yeah. And so you're trying to bring in now in trend the modest look, the modest way to dress without having to wear the layers, right? Yes. and having a sweat, because women are supposed to be, not sweat, right?
Oh, yes.
Women don't sweat, they glow.
They glow.
That's right.
Okay, there we go. But I have found, even dating guys when I was young and all, guys didn't like the women dressing in modest. They felt uncomfortable around them. They feel uneasy around them. And I don't think that women understand what they're doing when they dress immodest, right?
Yeah. Growing up in Kansas, I didn't have any friends that were of the same faith as me. And so a lot of my friends were from other religions. And even though they had different spiritual beliefs than I did, a lot of the boys that I hung out with did say that that was something that was important to them. That if a girl dressed immodestly, they probably weren't going to have a serious relationship with her because that's not the kind of woman that they would want to be married to in the future.
Oh, see, right there, out of the mouths of babes, right?
Yeah.
And that's coming from high school kids that have lots of hormones, right?
That's right.
So, yeah, most guys do not feel comfortable with that. So that's a wonderful thing that you got to see that in the men or the boys that you talked with as early. Did that help you get to the point? Yeah, to the point of that you still wanted to dress modestly, right?
Yeah, that was definitely encouraging. Yeah. And a lot of my friends wouldn't dress modestly, but I knew that was their decision and that I was going to do my own thing, and I was okay with that.
Did you ever have that peer pressure?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, they tried to make you wear other things or tease you because you were being so modest?
Yeah, my nickname in high school was Mormon Katie. So, yeah, I got lots of teasing, but
yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't always perfect. I would wear things that weren't always modest, but for the most part, I did try. So I think that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's from what's within your heart, right? Yes.
So back to a little bit of the what you talked about, women having their self-value. Lots of times women think that they need to be arm ornaments, and and that isn't helpful to them nor to the men that they're with.
Right,
it shows the lack of self-esteem and self-value that they have. And when they dress more modestly, do you think that helps their self-esteem?
Yes, I definitely do. Because I think that you're right, that when people do dress like that, I think that is a sign that they don't think that they are worth a lot, that they don't think that they are worthy of, respecting themselves more. I do think that dressing modestly is a way that you can tell that somebody's confident in their own skin.
Yes. And the other thing, too, is when they are in a position of trying to catch somebody with sex, it's the wrong way to go with the relationship, right? So, because that's what they're really trying to say. That's their statement. I'm sexy, right? If they're wearing immodest clothes. And that's the wrong way to start that relationship. And the best way to start the relationship is to be inward and find out who they are inside, right?
Exactly.
We're so excited you're here. We're going to take a break for just a moment here, and we'll be back again with Katie Vanderhoff. That we're going to get into how she started her business and how you can find her online.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
If you are frustrated with increased complaining, blaming, or silent treatments, if you have challenges with jealousy or feeling not good enough, if you are afraid of being controlled, ignored, or even cheated on, reach out to us. We help you put back the bounce in his step and the sparkle in her eyes. We are UpStep Development, marriage and life coaches. We sponsored this program for you. Reach us at upstepdevelopment.com.
Welcome back to the Zion in Mind podcast. We have a great guest, Katie Vanderhoff, with us today. Before we started the podcast this morning, you said something that just absolutely floored me, especially the way that you said it. You said a woman should never feel ugly a woman should never feel ugly in her clothing. And you said that with such passion. Wow. Tell me about where that came from.
That actually came from my mom. I know that she struggled a lot too with the same problem of not finding anything that she felt comfortable in that was modest and beautiful. And so often she wore t-shirts, and she always would say after she put her t-shirt on, she'd be like, "Oh, I just hate this shirt."
Oh dear.
Yeah, and she couldn't find anything that was better. And so I feel like she always felt like she never looked good in what she was wearing. And I don't want people to have to feel like that.
Yeah. We want to feel beautiful as a woman. We want to feel like we are there and just feel special, right? Yeah.
You want to feel pretty.
Oh, I remember those days of just having to wear t-shirts and because I couldn't find anything to wear too as well. So this is wonderful that you've got this line of clothing that you now have online that women can go to be able to buy clothing that is modest, that's beautiful and affordable. What a beautiful concept. I love this. And so when did this business start?
Actually, it started 1 year ago. Last week was my year mark.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Caleb and I, we got married in April of last year during the pandemic. And in May, the month after, we went to visit my family in Kansas. And this business has been something that I've always wanted to do. It's been a dream of mine to start this. And I remember talking with my mom about how I wanted to start my business. Mom, I want to do this. I want to start selling clothes. But I was kind of waiting until I graduated from college. And I had 3 years more to do before that was going to happen. And she told me, she's like, why not just start it now? Like, what's holding you back? You have no reason to not start it. Like, of course, you would learn more as you've gotten your degree, but why not just start it now and implement the things you're learning in college as you go?
Smart.
Yeah. So because she said that, I realized that she was right. And so I grabbed my laptop and I got online, and within a couple of hours, I had started my business.
That
Wow.
is amazing.
Yeah.
And you've been going strong since and picking up business, right?
It's been really good.
Yes. And you know, I'm going to go back to the concept of how women dress today. You know, it's the fads that they're in, that they have to be in style because everybody else is doing it. So they have the peer pressure, right? And if they don't fit into society, then they're nothing, right? And also to catch a man, they feel like that they need to dress not modestly, because if they don't feel like that they can catch a man with who they are personally, with what's inside of them, that they have to do it sexually, right? And so, you know, in the long term of that, really, I want to bring awareness to women that if they are doing the catching by the sexual part of trying to catch a man, that they've got to think about what that man's going to do after they're married. You know, are they going to still be looking for the sexual side in other women too? That's who they are. That's their demeanor. That's their core, right? And so do we want to kind of attract that kind of man? What kind of man do we really want to attract in our lives? And so I plug in to women out there that the way to catch a man and be happy in a relationship is to find somebody that admires you. not how you dress, not the way that you show yourself off, but what's inside and not outside, right? But then the cool perk along that is to actually be beautiful on the outside. And you've got wonderful clothing that makes women feel beautiful and feel modest and feel that they can be of value to themselves. So tell us about your line.
So my line is hand-picked items that I feel are beautiful and that women would feel confident wearing. So I have mainly dresses because a big part was my mission and not being able to find dresses that would work. And so a lot of the things that I have are dresses, but I've started to bring on shirts too and skirts. So eventually the goal is that I will be able to design and manufacture my own line of clothing that will be beautiful and modest for the everyday woman. I want them to be able to have shorts and shirts and along with dresses and skirts too.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be the low cut things or no sleeves or no tank tops, right?
No, none of that.
Well, this is exciting that you're going to start your own line. That's something to look forward to. That's encouraging. Now, I know you've got a great team that's behind you and helping you with your business and trying to help pull in the items that are appropriate, right?
Yes.
And where can they find you?
So I have an Instagram and Facebook page. It's at Shop Sunflower Drive. You can find my posts there. And then I also have a website that's www.sunflower-drive.com.
So sunflower dash or hyphen.
Yes.
Hyphen
drive.
Drive. Okay, perfect. And so, we actually, Leland and I, went on to your website and saw some of the beautiful things that you have there.
Oh, did you?
Yes. Not only do you carry everyday clothing items, either for missionaries or just for yourself around the house, around the neighborhood shopping, but you also carry a line that's white.
Yes.
What's this all about?
So I wanted to share kind of like the background of how that all started.
Oh, cool.
So last year for the holidays, I wanted to have a kiosk or a pop-up shop at the Orem Mall. And that was like a 10 by 10 piece of carpet on the floor. And it had racks of just my dresses and clothes up on it. And while I was there, I actually met this guy that had another kiosk down the way. His name's Aaron. And he was selling 3D printed temple night lights. And he noticed that I had this big push on being modest. And so he asked me, he's like, hey, I'm going to be opening a store. Is there any chance you could get your hands on some white stuff? And that's something that I'd never really considered before. I hadn't thought about doing temple dresses and things like that. But I realized that, yeah, of course I could get my hands on that. So at his store in the mall, I now have baby blessing, baptism, and temple dresses here.
Yes, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're beautiful. And that's in the store in the Orem Mall. That's Temple in Mind,
Yes.
right? Yeah. And then you also sell it on your website.
Yes.
And that's sunflower hyphen or dash, right? Drive. And you can just go there and order it. Now tell us about your return policy. If you get something and it doesn't quite fit, tell us how that works.
Yeah, you can definitely return it within 2 weeks of the time that you got it. And if it doesn't work, I just ask that you leave your tags on and make sure that there's no makeup or anything on it and that it's in good condition still.
And so hassle-free. Sounds like hassle-free,
Yep,
right?
just ship it back and you'll get refunded.
Not like the experience that you had before your mission where you were ordering things online and you couldn't return it.
Yep.
Right? So
Exactly.
that's a beautiful thing that you've got your customers back, that if they like it, of course they're going to enjoy it. But if it doesn't quite fit, then you've got that policy where you can return it and get another size or a
Yes,
different dress
definitely.
or different clothing.
So I'd like to back up just a little bit. You said that you started this about a year ago. So you got hit with COVID. What happened? How did that work with your business?
So COVID, I actually started it in June and COVID hit hard in March, right? And so I knew what I was doing. I knew that it was a pandemic and I was trying to start a business, and then that sounded kind of crazy. But I knew that it was going to work out just fine because I think that this mission is really important and it's something that matters. And I know that it's something that a lot of women need and that they're searching for, but they can't find it. And so I knew that this would be something that was successful. And it might have had some effects, like maybe I didn't sell as much as I could have in the first year, but I do think that it was still very successful, even with COVID going on.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, that's a brave soul to be able to start a new business 2 months into the shutdown of COVID with
Right.
everyone. So that's wonderful that it's taking off. And we encourage everybody to go check her website out at say it, go ahead.
Sunflower-drive.com.
Yes, she says it more eloquently, right? Well, we're so happy to have had you here. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we go off?
Yeah, I guess I'd just say that if you have a dream in your life, is something that you want to do, set some goals and make plans to achieve it. Because I feel like we're not here for very long, and we need to spend the time that we have doing something that we love.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, you bet.
Yes. We're so glad that we had you on the show, Katie, and we're glad that you were able to tell us about your business and find Katie online. And we are Leland and Bonnie Coford with UpStep Development, and you guys have a wonderful day.
Bye now.
Today's podcast has been sponsored by UpStep Development and Sunflower Drive. Thanks for listening.